The following message explores an alternative idea of today's shifting weather. This message may not be suitable for those who already have preconceived ideas and do not wish to consider alternative viewpoints. If you fall into this category, you're welcome to not listen it. It's just an idea. Now, with that out of the way, let's begin. The weather swings we are currently experiencing are not really happening because of the excessive amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Meaning that from the fossil fuels that we carelessly burn do not have an impact. Although they may have been observations of the effects of CO2 that can create heat in some circumstances. When taken to a larger scale, they do not have the ability to affect the weather patterns. This misunderstanding has been spreading fast over the last half-century, especially because of the constant propaganda in the mass media. And it was created by a group of people with the intention of spreading misinformation to fulfill their own agendas of collecting wealth and gaining power. And unfortunately, most people have fallen for it, mainly because of the lack of motivation to put effort in discerning the received information while using one's intuition. So then, what is really going on? First of all, it's important to clarify that it is true that abrupt and devastating weather changes are indeed happening because of humans. But the real cause is something totally different that started to develop in the beginning of the 20th century, and especially during the decades after World War II. The changes that we experience today are the consequence of thousands of destructive bomb testings that occurred mostly during the Cold War, from the 1950s to the 1970s. Although, it's worth mentioning that most likely, the first explosion occurred at the beginning of the 20th century, on a very remote part of Siberia, when groups of people were experimenting with the rediscovered knowledge. An ancient knowledge that had been lost after the fall of Atlantis. There is an intimate connection between the weather patterns and the atmosphere of Earth. Unfortunately, people did not fully understand this when the experiments took place. The explosions of the atomic, hydrogen, and other powerful bombs end up reaching the middle and upper layers of the atmosphere, which are scientifically known as the mesosphere and thermosphere. They destroy it in violent waves, causing a ripple effect that affects the entire planet. Just like a bell that once hit with force continues to ring for a prolonged time, this is what is happening with the atmosphere throughout the world. Most of the detonations happened in the Pacific Ocean, severely affecting the atmosphere in the area. A beautiful island named Bikini that was full of life was completely wiped out. And of course, there were many more unfortunate islands gone forever. And these thousands of so-called tests severely destabilized the atmosphere and planet Earth as a whole. Therefore, today, it is no surprise that the El Niño and La Niña phenomena originate around the same area of the Pacific Ocean, where the detonations took place. The abnormal warming and cooling of the ocean temperatures is a symptom and indication of the still damaged atmosphere in the area. And unfortunately, it will take a few hundreds of years for the planet to reach a stable point. These are the consequences of humanity's irresponsibleness. Of experimenting with destructive energies, just like a child playing with dangerous firearms that can kill with just the wrong move. And there is more. A damage was done to the magnetic poles of Earth, which are vital of protecting life from harmful space radiation. The poles have been slowly shifting from their original positions, running the risk of a reversal. Only time will tell, depending on the severity of the damage. And like mentioned before, it was not the first time that damages like this happened, with existing evidence of these terrible bombs being used in the past, more than tens of thousands of years ago. Of course, the evidence is being kept secret from the mainstream. But one can find clues and information if he or she is willing to do the detective work while having an open mind.